1 to 8, and then ending with reading verse 13. If I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and surrender my body to the flames, but have not love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It is not rude. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. And it ends with verse 13. And now these three remain, faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. And I got thinking about my grandma, my dad's mum, for those who are unaware. Hilda, she came here for a little bit of time. She lived until she was 102. And she started to lose her eyesight in her old age, as well as because of Alzheimer's, her mind. And I do remember one time when I was 98, sitting down on a sofa, and she sat next to me and said, "Paul, this book is the best book, the best gift you could ever have. This was written by a God who loves you so much that he came down to die for you, but he humbled himself to be in a manger for you. This is the answer to all of your problems. This is the solution for everything. Every question you will ever have is in here. This is for a God who wants to take you through your entire life and wants to make you the best that you can be." What she didn't know was she didn't have the Bible in her hand. She had a 101 Easy Recipes cookbook for little children. Yes. If anyone's seen my cooking, you can understand why. But it struck me that although she would often call me Hugh, she would also call me Ted, her husband's name, which was a bit more worrying at the time. She could never, ever forget the love of God. That even the last time I saw her, aged 102, when she heard Christian songs, when she even heard the Bible being read, you could see a joy, and her face lit up. And it was amazing that it could stay with her all that time. That I remember hearing her when she was interviewed by my dad, and she said that one of the first times she experienced love like the love of God was when she was 6 from a Sunday school teacher. And she was only there for a little time before her father said she couldn't go anymore. But the love of God stayed with her for 95 years after that. That was something that couldn't leave her, even when the memory of absolutely everything else could. And I got thinking about that with Living Waters again. For those very few who are unaware, I've been in Borneo, Indonesia, for about 1.5 years. Living Waters is an orphanage and school for about 800 children at the moment, founded by a man who is called Ronnie Habor, who has talked here before. He had a vision from God of an orphanage for 1,000 people and a school for 2,000. And what I found there that's absolutely incredible from Ronnie, although he's a very, very busy man traveling around the world to get support for the orphanage, every time he encounters a kid, every time he encounters an adult, there is something so full of love for absolutely everyone who is there. And this love is incredible, and it's the love of God that really changes children. Like my wife and I have been teaching now for 1.5 years English at a primary school. And of course, it's great to teach English. It's great fun. It's nice to see that a little kid will come up to me and go, Mister, I know English. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I mean, I'll ask, that's great, Herdy. Do you know what it means? No. So I'll get to teach them what it means, and it's wonderful. But I think the thing that really sticks with me is how much love can change their lives when they are there. It's something that many of them have not experienced before. One kid who was age 12, he was sent to Living Waters because his father remarried and his stepmother said, I do not want to raise someone else's kid. Send him away. And it was mind-boggling that someone would actually do that. But he was incredibly shy and incredibly quiet for such a long time. But now he's so full of joy with everyone. And he can't stop talking. He can't stop smiling whenever he sees people who he saw cared for him. And I thought how amazing it is that the love of God can change his life as well, just in the same way it changed my grandma's life as well. And of course, when I talk about the love of God to some people who don't believe in God, there was one friend of mine who asked, really, God loves you and this thing's happened to you, which was about Rihanna, our daughter, who was diagnosed with trisomy 11. So that's a bit like Down syndrome in that you have 23 pairs of chromosomes in your body, and there are 3 copies where there should be 2. Whereas for Down syndrome, it is life limiting, but usually babies with trisomy disorders only live for a day at most. And that's about it. And, you know, a lot of people, when they hear something like that, there are even some people who say they are Christians, who say they know the Lord. We go, well, there must be some sin in your life, and that's why it's happening. But when the disciples asked Jesus who sinned about the blind man who Jesus would later go on to heal, he asked, who sinned? And he said, no one sinned. This is so the glory of God will be shown. And it's so we can, and in this situation, we saw the glory of God so many times that at the right time, whereas we worried that we wouldn't get medical care on the island of Borneo, that we would have to fly, as Rosie was heavily pregnant, as Rosie had a condition called preeclampsia, which meant that she had to give birth as soon as possible, we saw God work and provide us a place in hospital for days that we were not, given we were not, we were in a part of Borneo that is Malaysia, and given we were not Malaysian citizens, really we shouldn't have had that room. But there was a doctor who came in on her day off to ensure that Rosie had a room. And afterwards, people were sent to us again and again who we had no idea who they were. And there were even a couple of women who did not even know anyone in Living Waters at all, but they felt moved to come and help us with everything. And I remember after we got back from the hospital, after Rihanna was born, an Australian pastor came, and we really thought in that moment that we were alone with this problem. But he came to us and he said, do you know, a very similar thing happened to me with my son, who was called Aaron. He also had a trisomy disorder that no one knew. This was the first person we spoke to when we left the hospital. And he told us about how God had used his boy, Aaron, to bring people to God. Him and his wife, who was also called Rosie, which was really eye-widening for us. But this baby, Aaron, could not walk, could not talk, could not eat even without assistance. And he'd caught a virus called RSV, which kills healthy babies maybe 50% of the time. The hospital in Australia, which is where he was from, told him, your baby's gone. There's no chance. But they kept praying and kept praying and kept praying. And then God told them at midnight, Aaron will be healed. Aaron is healed. And about 2 minutes after this, the nurse came out and she said, he's healed, he's fine. What is this? Who are you? This isn't possible. And he was able to witness to this nurse and the entire hospital and the nurses who looked after this boy about Jesus, and they came to know Christ. And this happened multiple times afterwards. And at this boy's funeral, Aaron, he was age 19, but 1,200 people were at his funeral, because that's how many people God had used him to touch. And although it was so, of course, that sounds so difficult, and although non-believers sometimes can't understand that, God uses that to show his glory and uses it to refine us. I did see a verse in Zechariah 13, verse 9. Let me just find it quickly. Sorry. Talking about the third of Israel who were with him. This third I will bring into the fire. I will refine them like silver and test them like gold. They will call on my name and I will answer them. I will say they are my people, and they will say the Lord is our God. And it is because of this love for us that he wants to refine us and make us like gold. It is because of this love he came down to earth as a human. In other religions, a god would never dream of doing that, such as Islam, for example. But our God came to us and was born and had to lay in a place for animals to feed. He was humble to that point, humble to the point of death on a cross. And as John 15:13 says, no greater love is there, where a man will lay down his life for his friends. And that's what Jesus came to do for all of us. And that incredible love is what changes people's lives and what refines them like silver and like gold. And it's a truly wonderful, wonderful thing to see, as long as that we have eyes to see it and as long as we have ears to hear it. And again and again, God has proven faithful to me, and I hope and pray everyone here will remember that God is faithful again and again and again, and that we are never alone. The Australian pastor actually did tell me a verse that had spoken to him in 1 Corinthians. It was 1 Corinthians 10, verse 13. No temptation has seized you except what is common to man. And God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, he will provide a way out so you can stand up under it. And what he mentioned was that the Greek translation of temptation can also be translated as test or trial, as it can do in Indonesian as well, actually. So in everything, remember that we are not alone, that we have people here. And as I said last week, God puts people in the right place at the right time. That Australian pastor, the chemist at the top of her profession, who he told to become a piano teacher, but who was sent to Living Waters just at the time that they needed a piano teacher as well. All the time, that is the most important thing that people who are in a relationship with God need to remember, that we are never alone, and in everything he is seeking to refine us and make us better so we might become the best versions of ourselves. Thank you.